Hi everyone, Isaac here from Norweld. So today I'm going to talk about the Norweld Difference. What's the Norweld Difference? The Norweld Difference is all these things you see behind me here. Extrusions, hardware, lights, locks, tanks. All these things are designed and developed by Norweld for use in our trays and canopies. And what makes us, the leading innovator in the tray and canopy space inside Australia and probably the rest of the world. We've been doing it a lot longer than a lot of people. Anyone can build a tray and canopy, but doing it to the level that we do it, time and time again, in a mass manufacturing facility such as the one that we're in right now, that's the difference. That's why these things make your Norweld tray and canopy the best on the market. So what we're going to do, we'll start with some extrusions, we'll go through those, and then I'll talk about some of the other stuff, and we'll go through these area by area. We'll talk about all these different components, products, and why we use them and what the purpose is behind them. Our design team spent countless hours in R&D, engineering, testing, FEA analysis, on-road testing, millions of kilometres by our team as well as our customers to ensure that the products that we put into these trays and canopies will last the test of time. So building aluminium trays, the key component of aluminium trays is aluminium. So most trays on the market, box section, sheet metal, plate, whatever. So our stuff, box section is a part of it, but the predominant feature and the thing that makes Norweld unique is our extensive range of extrusions. So in front of me is all the different extrusions we use in the trays and canopies. We'll start with some of the more, some of my personal favorites, and then some of the more complex extrusions that we've had to design and develop over the last sort of 3 or 4 years. A couple of these ones have been part of the Ute Tray program, which has been probably one of the most complicated and wouldn't say troublesome, but time-consuming extrusions that we've had to design to get what we needed out of the look, the extrusion, the bending process, and then the finished product, how we pulled all those things together as a team, design team, marketing, sales, all those people working together to ensure that the product we deliver looks amazing, fits your car amazing, and then when we see it driving down the road, you're like, bang, that's a Norweld, I need one for myself. So one of the things that we did back in the day was like a sheet metal sideboard. It was pressed up 2.5 sheet metal with welded in stiffeners. We ran those from in the early 2000s, well, since day dot, but really in the early mid 2000s, like 2010, 11, we standardized the look of these sideboards with a folded section and a welded in section. Then we said, mid-teens, let's design our own extruded sideboard and tailgate. That in itself was a bit of a challenge because if you look at the profile, it's quite complicated. So it's got down the bottom, we've got this part which the water will hit and it'll stop any dust forming. We've got the built-in stiffener up the top. We've also had to develop that in 2 different sizes, tailgate and sideboard. So the part of that is that when the tray has the sides on it, they sit up slightly because we have the lip on the side of the tray, and then the tailgate needs to be slightly deeper to ensure that it sits on the rear of the vehicle. These were a lot of work to get right. We played around with multiple different profiles. It's one of the biggest extruded sections that the suppliers extrude down south. It's extruded in Australia. It's not something that we get made and chucked in a container. It's made in Australia. So very cool, unique product. There are products that are made very similar, but nothing with this extra webbing and strength that we've gone through to ensure that our sideboards and tailgates are probably the strongest ones you'll find on any ute tray around. Even if you go steel, you'll struggle to find something as strong as this. Just get these out of the way. So the sideboards, they're mill finish. Behind me is our new paint booth. So with painted sideboards, obviously being an extrusion, there's a lot less prep work. There's minimal welding on those products as they get finished, as they were, from a raw extrusion through to a completed sideboard or tailgate. The welding part is just pretty much the end plates ready for the attached, the locks and latches and stuff like that. So pretty cool there. Another one that we see a lot of, Unistrut. So there's a lot of people in the market using the Unistrut inside and outside their canopies. The original Unistrut, we owned that mold back in the 90s. We actually spec'd it out of aluminium. Traditionally, it's a product made out of steel and it's sold through a lot of electrical wholesalers, but then we went, no, we want that in aluminium. We owned the mold back in the day, and then we stopped using it for a few years, and then they just pushed it out of the market. We redesigned this Unistrut to be a lot thicker. So traditionally it's 1.6 mil. This is all 2.5, and we've got that extra bit of 5 mil thickness on the top. So when it sits there and supports, you've got all that extra meat in there. So We make two sizes of that Unistrut. There's a 40 by 20 and a 40 by 40. Exterior, interior. So that goes in our canopy roofs and ensures that we hang our shelves, our travel buddies, our air compressors. There's plenty of strength in that. So substantially stronger to a traditional piece of box section because you can't stretch that metal. It's quite thick through there. So really cool little bit of gear that. You wouldn't see it. If I didn't point it out that it was unique, you probably wouldn't even notice. But again, it's something that we use a lot of, and it's a key part, and it's a key aspect of the Norweld trays and canopies. This one is probably the one that we were talking about with the Elite tray, which has been one of the most complex extrusions that we've had to design and then work out a way to bend that. So if I go end on, you can see how complex that profile is. Has this through here, square on the front edge. Radius is round, so when it's on the front of the car, that's your cab, the wind's coming around. We've tested that. They're 33% more aerodynamic than the tube headboard that we currently make. And that was done through wind and load testing, as well as dynamic stress testing, vibration testing, and a lot of stuff that our engineers in-house. Tommy and Josh are both excellent engineers, very knowledgeable. They spent a lot of time working with getting the Elite tray to a point where we know that, yep, it's gonna look good and work well. This extrusion, looking at how complicated it is, bending it in itself was another whole set of challenges. Custom machine, custom dies, custom mandrels, all these things had to be designed from scratch to ensure that we could bend this material in our standard headboard profiles, same as what we currently do with the tube, but not have any distortion, minimal marking of the material, so then we can refinish it to a uniform look. Not an easy challenge. We set a time frame for the Elite tray and we sort of blew it by about 12 months. Just by getting this one aspect of the tray dialed in perfect. Without this, the Elite tray wouldn't have been able to be something that we could stand behind and go, this is the best on the market, what we feel. Really cool bit of extrusion, very strong, incredibly strong. And the design of it, a lot of people look at it, they don't even realize what it is until they're up close and looking at it. And again, something that the whole team is very proud of. You won't see it anywhere else. It's a Norweld exclusive. Very, very cool. If we keep going with trays, so our standard deluxe trays, we have, on your rear light board, you'll find that most vehicles with the tray, if there's a flat tray on it, it'll either be an extruded cheap aluminium tray or a steel tray with box section and plate, or an aluminium tray with box section and plate and sheet metal. We go to the next level. We used to use a bit of box section, 5, 6 years ago. We designed our own box section. You can see the end profile. It's tapered. There's some few cutouts in it. There's lines to mark the center lines for the holes. And this is an extrusion that's designed to act as a stiffener in the light board, but also hold our number plate lights at the correct angle to ensure that we illuminate the number plate correctly. Cutouts for the wiring looms, and all that's welded into the tray, so you wouldn't even see it if you didn't know. But again, with the profile and design, very strong. If we keep going on with the Elite tray, one of the things that we had to do with the Elite tray was design a new light board section and a new side profile. So the Elite has a side extrusion, a rear extrusion, and then a bolt-on painted panel, which again, that's what the paint boost's for. So with the rear, we developed this new extrusion for the rear. Goes on the vehicle, goes on the tray. It's got your number plate lights go in there. Again, recesses for your wiring. Big, thick, solid extrusion. Plenty of effort went into that. A lot of 3D printing. We got a couple of 3D printers and we spent a lot of time printing all that off. The floor plate goes on there. It's welded with the guys weld it. And again, big chunk of aluminium, very complex. Not something that's easily just like, oh yeah, I'll just make up that. You got to commit to quite a vast number of materials to ensure that that works. With that, you've got your side profile for your Elite tray. So your Elite tray, this is your side, that's your rear. Your color-coded section bolts onto this. So with this design, the floor goes here, that's tied into that. It's fully welded. And then with our Taillight panels, those both remove. So if you do damage those, you damage the rear drawer, you can swap the rear drawer out without having to remove the whole tray. You damage where your tail lights are, you can swap that panel out. So the design with the Elite tray allows for that, DIY repair if you have a small little accident out on the trails. So very cool bit of gear. We're very proud of what we've done with the Elite tray. The design team worked very hard on the Elite tray. 3D printing, taking it to the sales and marketing team, showing them what they're working on, and then as a collective, the Norweld the Norweld family, you could say, working through it, looking at images and going, hey, we're happy with that, getting the fabricators involved, the welders. How do we do this better? Is that going to weld okay? Let's do a sample weld. So there's a lot that goes into it. You could build the extrusion, but then you need to be able to weld it. You need to make sure that it fits in the jigs. The Elite Tray's been designed that we can build it in the same jig as our Deluxe tray without having to have a massive amount of tooling swap out. So really clever bit of engineering in the extrusions, how we can still use a lot of the standardized components. The same sideboards fit the Elite tray. If you have a Deluxe tray and you change to an Elite tray down the track, there's not much that can transfer, but we know that the sideboards do. Another little favorite, this one is one I sort of come up with a few years ago. Ladders. So most ladders we had was either box section or tube. Back in the day we did a tube ladder, so it was all TIG welded 32 by 3 tube. Very nice looking bit of gear, a lot of cool TIG welding, but again, slow, cumbersome to manufacture. We went to a sheet metal ladder with box section, and then a few years ago I sketched up a profile and said let's just do a tread like that for the ladder. So again, something that we've worked on, you know, a continuous improvement thing. Yeah, we could do tube, we could do box section with grip tape, but then this is the next level again. So reducing that need to rely on, you know, a bit of grip tape to keep your feet. This works really well. It's not heavy, it's strong, and with our ladders, which are obviously a product that comes standard on all our canopies, unless you get 3-door. Great little feature. Go into here to this one. So this is a canopy extrusion, goes in the roof where the doors are, and it's 2 different angles. So this angle and this angle are different. They're not the same. It's a trapezoidal shape, but the angles are different based on Hilux, Land Cruiser, and full size. So a bit of clever engineering from the team. Rather than having to carry 2 lots of extrusion, we've just said, look, let's just do it universal, left or right. We don't need one square, one tapered. We can just do both tapered, and that solves the problem that we had. Roof racks, so our multi-racks and tradie racks, they're a very popular feature on our canopies. Standard, all canopies with the canopy, it's going to have a roof rack. It's going to be the multi-rack, it's going to be the tradie rack, or you could option the tent bars. This is the front and rear profile of those roof racks. So bullnose on the front, tapered, acts like a windbreak. See a lot of the roof racks now come with a windbreak. This acts as a windbreak for that. So rather than having a square edge, hitting it, that wind buffeting and creating a vortex or, you know, a bit of wind noise, whistling, stuff like that, this solves that problem. And also if you're loading it, stuff's coming over it smooth. If you're a chippy plumber and you got to chuck stuff on your roof rack, this gives you a nice smooth edge just to drop stuff on there and push it in. Very good. This one's another one that we spent a bit of time getting right. Rooftop tents. So there's a lot of different tents out on the market. For us, in the old days, it was pretty much the ARB tent, and then there was a couple other ones, like a James Browd was ticking around, and there wasn't much else out there. A couple of hard shells and then a lot of the soft ones. As the market's changed, the clamshell style tent, the pivot tents, the Boss Aluminiums, the Camp Kings, the Bush Companies, the James Browds, those have exploded, and there's heaps of other stuff out there now, very popular, you know, and you can spend crazy dollars. You can spend, you know, buy a white label imported product, which will probably serve you, you know, once a year. If you're a regular camper tourer and you want the quality, go Australian made, go a name brand and something that you know's been around for a while. With all these tents, we had the challenge of how do we mount multiple tents to our canopies without having to reinvent the wheel every time. We're not a custom manufacturing, you know, business. We're not a fabrication workshop where you can book in and I need you to make all these brackets for my canopy because I've got a bespoke need for a certain bracket or a certain tent. We have to come up with a way to solve all the problems off the shelf. So this is our rooftop tent extrusion. So it's a heavy duty extrusion, 60 by 40 approximate dimensions. It's got a heap of router cutouts that we cut into it, and it's got a lot of holes there. So I know that this can fit a lot of tents on the market. I just fitted a Camp King the other day to one of these. I've done the Camp Boss, Bush Company, the Boss Aluminiums fit on these, which is one of the ones I designed it for originally, which is these holes here. There's a lot of tents that this fits. Designed to go in the vertical plane like that, but if you had to and you had to sneak it down, you can bolt it down like that, get it lower. If you run it in the high side, you can bolt your awning brackets to it, so they come off and up. And that ensures that if you've got one brand awning with another brand tent, you can still run that awning with the tent. A lot of the tents and awnings now are coming as a package deal where you can buy that brand tent, that brand awning, and those two things will bolt together. So with the extrusions, again, we've got about 12, 13 extrusions at the moment. There's a couple more in development at the time of filming, but it's one of those things that we invest heavily in design, engineering, testing. It's not something we just go, oh, we're going to change this extrusion, let's just do it. No, we'll make samples, we'll do a mill run of minimum order quantity, we'll build a couple of canopies, we'll go out and test and ensure that it's fit for purpose and it does the job. There's nothing worse than investing thousands of man hours in time, money, effort to then build a product that doesn't work. So we like to spend the time researching, investing, and then ensuring that the product's going to work. So we'll go into hardware next, because some of these are pretty cool, but hardware stuff is very interesting as well. So we'll get ready for that now. Can't do a Norweld Difference video without talking about one of the things that is really the biggest difference that you'll see on most trays out there compared to ours, tray mount. So 10mm aluminium, fully welded, very heavy duty. And I think you're going to find something more beefy underneath a Ute tray anywhere in Australia. Very strong, all CNC router cut, all fully MIG welded, a little bit of TIG welded. We also notch out and drop that through, so when the tray goes on, that sits on there and we can bolt through there. Very, very strong. So if you're looking at a tray, they're not all the same. Compare whatever tray you're looking at. If you're looking at a Norweld, ask about the mounts. Check what they've done to ensure that the tray, the car, the canopy, everything's going to hold up over time and serve you well, no matter where you go. When it comes to hardware, this is probably one of the things where we've spent a lot of time on small things to make a big difference. Something like a lock. We've gone through a few different lock generations. This is our, what we call a Midnight series lock. So this was a lock that we developed back in 16, 17. We rolled it out 2019, we rolled that out. Left and right swing, padlockable. Works really well, but one of the features that we found was limiting was the inability to option central locking with this Vector style Midnight series lock. So usually this lock was built as a plasticky black looking thing. We got them to build them in a zinc die-cast chrome finish, which looks really nice, but we wanted to take it to the next level and go, how do we get our locks to stay at the forefront of what we can offer? So we went to the new whale tail design. So this one, coupled with this, gives us the central locking. Bolt those together. That's our exclusive Norweld lock with central locking capability. So with the canopies, that's where the central locking will work. It's got the Norweld logo on there, so if you do option an actuator, it's going to say Norweld on there. It's made by the supplier. I'm not going to say the name of the supplier, but if you buy a Norweld, you'll see the name of the supplier on that casing. With the lock, it's a whale tail design. You can padlock that through there. It's got a roller cam to seal, so as you pull it down, that pulls in, pulls tight. There's no exposed fasteners or fixings. Everything's hidden on the back side. Very heavy duty, a lot thicker and stronger than the existing lock. These don't really give us any issues. They're a great lock. There's thousands on the road and they do really well. This is the next level in evolution when it comes to strength and security, and ensuring that when we add the central locking functionality to it, it works effortlessly time and time again. Nice finish on that. Coupled with that, great little add-on. If you've got a canopy and you want to keep it secure, you can do that one. Stay on the canopies. So gas struts. Every canopy will have gas struts in the doors. Doesn't matter what brand. I don't know what force this is, but I can't push it down. Looks like it's 550 Newton meters. So very strong. So these ones are spec'd to our length. So we get the struts made. It's got a Norweld logo on it and it's designed for our length. There's a lot of preset sizes of struts. We've sort of tweaked it. We found a size that works. It's in between two different sizes and we said we need them this long. And they said, yeah, we'll build them for you. It's got your logo on it. That's something that you'll see in the canopies. If you've ordered a canopy and it's got an internal layout, or you're looking at a canopy with an internal layout, one of our deluxe lights or deluxe canopy, it's going to have drawer slides in it. So drawer slides, there's heaps out there in the market. They're not all created equal. The weight ratings mean something. If they're 60, 115, 227, That just means the extended load that they can take. So obviously the shorter the slide, a big heavy slide like that, and 600 mils is going to hold the weight better at full extension versus something like a 1200 mil slide. We have a 227 kilo rating on our draw slides, 1, 2, 3, and this one's 115 kilos. So with our draw slides, traditionally, you'll see a lot of them on the market have that. That works. It's a little bit hard if you got your hands full or you're not real, you're not switched on enough to just sort of pop them. So we developed this pull tab setup. And that works really well. So then you can open the drawer, just hook your finger on it. Nice and simple, pop and open, pop and close. Again, I haven't seen them anywhere else. There's a lot of people that have like attachments that bolt on there, a bit of aluminium. It looks a bit agricultural. Doesn't really look like it's meant to be like that. You sort of look at them and go, yeah, right, okay. Does what it needs to do, but doesn't look well thought out, I feel. So we've got this set up as a good little option. With the drawer slides, these ones are designed so they can't come apart. So you can't pull them out and then pop them out like you would your kitchen slide at home or your kitchen drawer at home. They're designed to stay in the canopy or in the under tray drawer. It's not a, oh yeah, I'll just pop it out and clean underneath it. The only way to get it out is to drill out the rivets and undo the nuts and bolts that are holding the drawer to the body. Again, that's designed with the purpose of, if it's fully loaded, the last thing you want to do is overextend it and have that drawer fall out on your feet or on your child or on your pet or, who knows. Something we've thought about, we've done a lot of drawer slide testing, we've used a lot of products. These ones from the supplier we use now have been very good. They're a great product, they work well with us. Any small design changes are catered for. We've got, bump stops built into the back. This one's a small one that we use on the table drawer setup. Like plenty of meat. That's just holding a small table drawer setup on our deluxe light and deluxe canopies. Doesn't need to be that heavy duty, but if we want to know it's going to last, you're going to go do the Gibb River Road, Telly Track, Savannah Way, somewhere where there's a lot of bumpy dirt roads. We need stuff like this in the canopies to ensure that that canopy is going to get you home. Canopy hinges. So with the canopy hinges, for a very long time, we've used a lot of different canopy hinges over the years. 20, 30 years ago, we used piano hinge, then we moved to Centerflex hinge in the early 2000s. That seems to work quite well. A lot of people still use the Centerflex hinge, but it's effectively two pieces of plastic with a bit of rubber in the middle as an interface, which acts as the pivot point. Works well, but over time it can deteriorate. We used to use a cast version of this hinge, which we still make and we still retail, but it's not something that we build and sell for use inside our canopies. We build those hinges and send them all around Australia for other suppliers to use in the marine industry. It's a cast hinge that works quite well. This is an extruded hinge. We machine our own bushes in-house, uses a stainless nut and bolt configuration. It's a really clean little extrusion, set up for welding. Goes on the canopies. It's the perfect width, length and height for our canopies. Works well. So that's some of the stuff that we do hardware inside the canopies. With the trays, there's probably a few more things that we do with those. Obviously, we've got our Norweld exclusive tail light. So this is our new tail light. We rolled this out. First ones are on vehicles, 21 on the Bull and a couple other cars, and then we transitioned them out, through 22, 23. Unique to Norweld. Please don't call up asking to buy a pair of the lights. Don't message us on Instagram saying, can I please buy the lights? I've already got a tray. It's not a Norweld, but I want new lights. We don't sell them. The only way to get these is to buy the Norweld trays. So tapered left and right, obviously, that's why that, and then it matches the Lightboard profile perfectly. We do offer a retrofit option if you've got a tray that was fitted with the black maxi lamps. These can be added to it as long as you've got a tapered Lightboard. A lot of work and design went into these. It's not something that you can go, oh, make me a light, and you've got them next week. It was effectively from 21. We started the process mid-2020. We had the first ones on the vehicle late 21, and then we pretty much pushed them out to market 22. So it's a very long process to dial it in and get it all right. Something we're very proud of, and it's the point of difference. When you spot a tray, you can see these lights from a mile away, you know they're a Norweld. Sideboards, tailgate, how do you get those to work? With the hinge. So with the hinge, obviously you've got your pin, you've got your hinge, you've got your bush. So these are unique to Norweld, hidden fixings. Everything's made for us by our supplier. It's not something that you can buy. There are other stainless hinges on the market, but they will have exposed fasteners on them. There's, you know, to go down the route of building a hinge like this, you need a lot of volume. We'll do about 2,200 trays this year. Out of those, 1,600 of them will be trays with sideboards. So if I times 1,600 by 9, which is what a tray gets, that's a lot of hinges. That's a lot of pins, a lot of bushes, big numbers. So that's why we can spend the time and effort going to that level of building something like that. Spare tyre hardware, machined threaded rod. So beautiful machine finish. A lot of work goes into these. Machined, counterboard. Really clean, really nice. Beautiful piece of product. The spare tyre plate, stainless, but it's impregnated inside some plastic, so it doesn't mark your wheels. A lot of these new wheels in the old days, a lot of people ran factory wheels or steel wheels, so they weren't really concerned. But now with mag wheels, aftermarket wheels being a massive thing that everyone does pretty much on their four-wheel drive, we thought we'd better come up with a way to protect these wheels. We've got some expensive wheels on our vehicles, and a lot of you customers have the same, so we developed this. The wheel doesn't get marked. We've got our exclusive wing nut that we make. There's a few other bits and pieces. There's wing nuts, there's washers, there's nuts. But the bits that are unique to us are these ones here. We also make this, which is designed so if you've got a 35 or a 37, you can offset that rod to ensure that you've got plenty of range to suit 33, 35, 37 inch wheel tyre combo with these bits of hardware. All right, so if I stay with the trays, toolboxes have hinges. We've got a couple of different hinges. So on the standard toolboxes on the deluxe trays, we have what we see here, which is our little hinge. So this is a product that is readily available. It's called a pintle hinge, K1, K2 pintle hinge. What we've had to do is change the depth of it. So the standard hinge has a slightly different profile in depth. So because we have a rubber system and a gutter system on our toolboxes, we needed to ensure that the hinge would be compatible with what we've designed on the boxes. So the only way to do that was to get these made in such a way that they're slightly different height to ensure that we've got the clearance and the rubber isn't overly squashed or under squashed to ensure that we've got adequate sealing of the toolbox. So again, a very small thing, but a lot of time and effort goes into looking at that and going, hey, if we add 2.2 mil to the vertical height of this hinge, it'll give us a lot better sealing. We can use a smaller, thinner rubber that'll seal better and ensure that the toolboxes remain dust and waterproof for a lot longer. Something that we think about. This hinge here, it's a torsion hinge. So it's designed for our elite toolboxes. So again, it's an off-the-shelf product, but we've had to get it adjusted in such a way that the force, the torque hinge, has a set amount of force on the way down and on the way up. So I'll splice some B-roll in, show you the hinge working in action, but this is a hinge that was very hard to find. And then once we found it, we had to go through a lot of, can we get it in this tension? Like we need more force here and less force here. We want it to be slow on the way down and easy to push back up. So looking at it, you think, oh yeah, that's nothing, that's just a hinge, big deal. But there's a massive price difference between these two. But this is something that we feel is what puts us, again, cutting edge innovation, working on products like this to ensure that it fits the desired purpose for what we've come up with the tray, and then go, yep, we're happy with that. We know it's going to work forever. Another little cool thing on the Elite tray is when we bolt our side panels on, we have these little stainless fixings here, which also matches our hinge. So if you get an Elite tray without sideboards, we'll have these blanking strips, but we've also gone to the effort of an extruded plastic backing strip to ensure there's no stainless on paint issues. It also stops any scratching. And then this plate we get made, it's countersunk, electroplated, very clean. That goes on it. And then we also have a little bush here that we put on the backside as well to ensure that there's no galvanic corrosion between all the dissimilar metals. Raw aluminium, stainless steel, plastic, painted aluminium. All those things need to ensure that we've got the correct amount of protection there for our customers. A lot of thought went into that. Again, looks like something small, little add-on detail, but The design team, they've worked very hard. We're like, this is what we need, guys. How are we going to solve that problem? This is how they solved it. So anyone thinks that guys are sitting on the computers, drawing squares and circles, it's a lot more than that. Design's a big part of our business. A lot of 2D, a lot of 3D, a lot of testing, 3D printing, a lot of prototyping, very important what we do. Water fillers and fuel fillers. So I've seen a lot of water fillers and fuel fillers on a lot of vehicles over the years. One of the things that always stuck for me and Steve and Jamie was that we wanted our water tank fillers and diesel, fuel fillers to look good and be functional. So for the water filler, this one's a headboard variant. Bolts to your headboard on your deluxe tray or your elite tray. It's got a cap, but we machine our own breathable vent that just gets added to it. So it's a tiny little vent screw, knurled, punch a hole through it. Doesn't look like much, but a fiddly little bit of gear to make. We've got a full CNC workshop at another location just around the corner where our old factory used to be, that we were operated out of since 1971. That site's still active. It's a production facility now, but we have a full CNC machine shop where we have 3 lathes, induction cast furnace, we mill, we make a lot of fittings like this, which is part of this, but we also sell these fittings. The water filler is one part, so we call that a slimline filler for the water tank. It's got the cap, it's got a breather, which is a stainless breather, so standard fitting. It's barbed, it's all one piece. The old days, you'd get a bit of tube, weld a threaded neck on it, weld another bit of tube, put a bit of hose on it. We've machined something very clean and simple. Diesel, a lot of the full-size vehicles run these, 200, 300 series, all the full-size vehicles. This is a filler, so it allows us to use an off-the-shelf Trident locking fuel cap. And a lot of the genuine caps if your vehicle's got a tub and it has a cap, these caps will work as well. So this is a machine, it's an adjustable setup. So it steps down from 50 all the way down to the hose size of 38mm ID. We've got the 3/8 button on there. We call that a button or a socket. That's welded in, and that's where our breather goes in, same as that one. And then we make a bracket that clamps that on and holds it in the position of your tray. So if you've got a Ram 2500, 3500, F250, F150, this is what you'll see when you pick it up. A lot of work went into these, getting these right. We've been exporting our trays to America since 2016. So I debuted the first trays back there in 2016 at Overland Expo East at the Biltmore Estates. And we pretty much had to work out how to get the fuel filler working pretty much landed on a Sunday night in the factory Monday, had to work out how to get a tray on the car working operational to drive out Tuesday lunchtime. And then coming home from that, I sketched out some stuff and we just revised this product over the last sort of 5 years. And then since about 2020, this has been the default product for a lot of the American vehicles, pretty much any full size, and then obviously 200-300 series use these sometimes with the additional fuel tank. So it doesn't look like much, a lot of time and energy and effort from a lot of people went into pulling that into fruition. So if you've got a water filler, you're going to have a water tank. So with the dual cabs, we get 40 litres. Extra cab, single cab, extended Land Cruiser, full-size vehicles, they're all 58 litres. And obviously, filler comes down, fills in there. There's a breather and a drain. So these are made by a supplier in Townsville. They're based off a design that we used to have in aluminium, which was very similar shape, but made from 4mm aluminium. A lot of welding, fully welded, very heavy duty, very strong, but heavy. So these saved about 8-9 kilos on the small tank, and there's about 12 kilos on the large tank. So our tray weights went from sort of 245 down to 233 kilos. It's fully molded, it's got the brass fittings in there, it's got fixings with compensators, so it's got a sleeve in there so we can bolt them into the tray. It's just another thing that we spent a lot of time and effort on, getting right. There's a logo here somewhere, maybe on the other side. You can see the Norweld logo there. Again, that's a 60-litre tank. Weighs nothing. Well, it doesn't weigh nothing, weighs about 3 kilos. Heavy duty, internally braced, baffled. A lot of time went into these. A lot of cost goes into something like this. Like the mold costs alone, like the first time I was going through the process of a poly tank, I looked at that and went, wow, that's a lot of cash. But now that we use them every day, I can see the reason why we do it. With the poly tanks, they're BPA free, so they're safe for drinking water, obviously, but you are going to have that, your garden hose is going to put a plasticky taste into the water tank. So be mindful of how you fill it. Use food grade hoses. We use food grade hoses on the outlets and the breathers, but ensure that you fill from clean water sources. If you pull up out bush and you're filling from a random water tank, you don't know what you're putting into your tank. You might contaminate your system. So just be mindful of that. There are purifiers and cleaning agents that you can add for your caravan. They can be used in these as well. Poly tanks, obviously we've got these two. I've got a jerry can here. I'll get that up next and show you that. And we'll go through that and see what we can show you. This one's a water one. We do make a diesel one, which is black, and this is a water, which is grey. So this is designed to suit our jerry can holders. It's 25 litres. Traditionally, most jerry cans are 20 litres. We sort of snuck it out at extra 5 litres just to make it a bit easier. On the water tank, there is a little bung there, so you could add a tap. The jerry can holder is designed to have this drop in, and you can access that tap if you wanted to add a tap. It's got the filler, funnel, spout, same as your normal jerry can, but if you wanted to do water, and say if I got diesel, it's designed like that. It's got a handle, you can carry it, you can pull it, you can pour it. Unique to Norweld. Again, we don't sell these on their own. They're designed to go with the Norweld trays and canopies. They'll only fit a Norweld jerry can holder with these lugs, which is for security, so you can bolt them, padlock them, cable tie them, whatever you wish to do. You've got your cap there. You could also lock your cap off because there's holes in the cap, so you could cable tie your cap shut to stop people trying to break into it. Obviously, if they want to, they'll just drill a hole with a cordless drill, but you got your breather there as well. A little bit of checker plate detail, just for something different while we were molding it. We thought it looked, unique. And obviously the logo there. So, a lot of effort and thought went into these again. As you can, we don't need to build a jerry can holder, but I was down at the supplier in Townsville talking about these, and I said, I'd really like to do jerry can. And they're like, yep, all right. And then again, design team, concept drawings, 3D models. We went through it back and forwards. We want a handle, we want security, we want this, we want that. The end result, very nice. So, water, no drama. We don't make under tray fuel tanks. We leave that to the experts. So, Long Ranger, ARB, Brown Davis, all those people do great tanks. We don't need to get into the tank space. We just do offer the diesel jerry can. It goes on the back of your canopy. You can use the jerry can holder on the back of your tray. That extra, 25 litres of fuel or diesel or water. Just an added little bit of, it's redundancy really, isn't it? So, water tanks, hope that helps with that decision. When it comes to trays, there's a lot of stuff going on that you probably wouldn't see. You look at it first glance, oh yeah, that's a nice tray. But when I dive down into the nitty gritty of what's included, what we've spent a lot of time and effort in developing the product and ensuring that our hardware, our machine fittings, our bracketry, everything we're doing is done with a reason to ensure that the finished product is functional, durable, lasts, looks good, does everything you need it to do. We don't need all this extra fluff, and there's a lot of stuff out there. Yep, some stuff looks really cool, but it's not practical. You can't beat on it down a dirt road for 12 hours a day and pull up at the end and go, that still looks decent. Like, there's products out there that aren't, they don't have the K's underneath the belt, so to speak, where they've done the testing. There's a lot of products out there. If they're cheap, you just got to ask yourself, hey, if it's too cheap, it's probably too good to be true, and you're going to set yourself up for some disappointment. Do your research, plan it out, look into what's available, and then compare like for like. There's no point comparing a Norweld to an imported product. It's not going to be the same. You won't find this level of detail on an imported product when it comes to Ute trays. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so hopefully the Norweld difference, I've explained that a bit better. Why Norweld, who we are, what we do, why we do it, the products that we use, the suppliers we work with, the designs that we have. Everything has a purpose and a reason. We won't just do something because it looks cool. We'll think about it. We'll go, okay, well, that looks good, but let's test it. Let's make sure we can manufacture it in such a way that we know it's going to serve the customer, ourselves, and the people that are involved with it. There's no point coming up with a great product if it takes 4 million hours to make. There's no point building something if it's crazy heavy or it doesn't last longer than 6 months. So all these things we think about in the design and development process. We do a lot of testing, R&D. We've always got canopies in cans at the main facility. We've got a design team of 5 in cans, which is engineers, industrial designers, drafties, process improvement, mechanical engineers, all those people working together to ensure that we're spending the time to develop products, test them, refine them, and ensure that our trays and canopies, once they're on the road, they're not going to give you any hassles. We don't want you having to, go bush, go remote, and worry about whether something like a tail light's going to fail or you're going to have a strut, not work. We spend a lot of time working with our suppliers to ensure that the products are the best possible product they can be when it's added to our tray canopy package. If you've got any questions, drop us a comment below. We'll answer what we can. You can always give us a call and have a chat. You might not get me, you might get one of the sales team, but we're always open to discuss. If you go into a branch and you want to talk or ask a few more questions about how this works or explain this for me, how does that go together? Can you show me so I can get a better understanding before I order my tray and canopy? That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions and guide you through the process to make a smart decision when it comes to purchasing a tray and canopy. Thanks for watching. So if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, jump on, subscribe, norweld.com.au. You can give us a call, 1300 302 899, chat to the team. We've got offices in Cairns, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Townsville, Newcastle, Adelaide and Perth. Drop in, see the team. We all love to have a chat. We love showing off what we build. We're very proud of the Norweld range of trays and canopies. And I'm sure if you bought one, you'd be proud of yours as well. Thanks again.